Welcome to today's webinar on recycling and green IT methods. I thought this would be appropriately timed because last Saturday was Earth Day. What I want to cover today is not only how you as a small to mid-sized business can be more environmentally conscious about the energy that is used by your technology, but more importantly, when the time comes, how to properly dispose of the equipment. Most counties in the state of North Carolina have rules that you need to follow when doing this. Gone are the days that you can just take a keyboard, monitor, or computer and put them in a trash can or a bin outside your company. So let's get started with a little bit about myself. My name is Tim Richter, and I'm the co-founder here at RCOR Technologies. My background includes IT and network security work for Lockheed Martin, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Duke University, and GlaxoSmithKline. I started my business 20 years ago because I saw that the small to medium-sized businesses in the area needed the same level of support that the larger Fortune 100 companies had, and it was woefully lacking. It has become my passion to deliver the same expert service to this market. And this webinar is how I can continue with that passion by helping you, the professionals here today in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and the Greensboro areas, to protect yourself and, in today's case, keep our environment and your critical data safe. So come on, let's get started with why we are really here. So let's talk about why we should recycle. First, did you know that commercial waste comprises almost 70% of all waste in Wake County? It's pretty much the same for each of the other counties around North Carolina. Now, I'm not saying that all of this is technology waste, but with the number of computers and phones and tablets and monitors and keyboards that are put in place every single day, we would have to say that there definitely is a lot out there. In an effort to encourage businesses to properly recycle all of their electronic waste, or as it's called, e-waste, not only counties, but the state of North Carolina is considering all e-waste as hazardous waste material. Did you know that the material or components within your computer and monitor and even mice are hazardous? Since all e-waste is considered hazardous, it helps you to not have to determine what parts are harmful and what are harmless. All you need to do is responsibly recycle everything in the proper manner. What I'd like to cover are two different things. The first thing I want to do is how to prepare your equipment to be recycled. So let's start with phones and tablets. Depending on the operating system, there is normally a selection under the settings to put the device back to factory default. Now you want to, of course, back up everything that you want to keep. Pictures, files, old emails, and the like. But then you want to do a factory reset. This will guide you through removing the information that you've put in there that might be sensitive or not something you want to have the general public be a hold of. The cool thing about cell phones is that they can a lot of times be reused. One of the things I've done in the past with my old cell phones is to give them to women's shelters. Many times when a person or family arrives at a shelter, they have nothing. This is a good way to not only dispose of a piece of equipment that you no longer need, but you're helping someone in the process. If you're unable to find a shelter locally, Best Buy does have an area for disposal as you walk in the door. They do ask that you take the battery out, put it in the battery bin, and then put the cell phone in the cell phone bin. So let's move to computers. Near the end of this webinar, I'm going to show you a slide of the main county recycling centers. This would be a good thing for you to look up for your county that your business is located in. Where there are responsible recycling locations, this is usually the best. But if you do not find one in your area, my suggestion would be Best Buy or Staples. Most of them are responsible recyclers. I'm going to go off on a quick side note here and talk about what a responsible recycler is. A responsible recycling center will take the equipment and break it down into its primary components such as plastic, steel, aluminum, mercury, and other elements. Then they'll normally sell off each element in order to make back the cost of them separating it. So you think, great, isn't that what everyone does? No, not really. In the end, many places will put the equipment onto a slow-moving cargo container and send it to places like Ethiopia, where they will put them in a large pile, gigantic amounts of electronic waste, sometimes in the middle of the desert. You may not think that this is a bad idea, but in the end, the harmful materials can soak into the low-lying aquifers and the environment. If they're near cities, children will a lot of times play in the fields of electronic waste. It kind of breaks your heart when you think about all the harm that's caused by this. Now, let's talk about the computer. Probably the biggest concern when moving a computer out of your business environment to wherever you're going to be disposing of it is the hard drive. This is the location that any data such as documents, databases, anything else that has been saved. In order to properly dispose of the hard drive, two things really need to be done. The first thing is the drive needs to be erased. Again, I'm going to bring up the fact that you need to back up your data first. Next, erase the hard drive with either a machine like what we use in our office that can be specially purchased, or using a computer software program to erase it. The effective ones will not only erase the information, but they will write over all the spaces multiple times, so it's completely unrecoverable. I normally have our company take it one step further and use a sledgehammer to smash the hard drives themselves into a pancake-looking piece of metal. Therefore, I can truly say that the data is not recoverable. The casing and components around the hard drive need to be brought to an e-waste recycling center. I don't want to forget the individual components that you may have, such as monitor, keyboard, mouse, scanners, and printers. Remember that everything needs to be recycled properly. Again, you'll want to make sure there are no memory cards or drives with information on them. So after looking at all the hard work and expense, are you maybe thinking, why am I doing this? About 3 years ago, I had a company come up and call me when they tried to dispose of a computer themselves. This was an old computer that they decided to take to a local recycler. They even did due diligence by making sure that the recycler was going to properly dispose of it. However, one of the employees saw that it was a decent computer yet and decided to give it to the company across the street, who he knew needed a computer. The company sent it home with one of their employees to have him tinker with it and see if they could get it to work so that they could put it in place and use it. Sounds pretty innocent so far, doesn't it? Well, that employee turned it on and found that it had patient data on it. He called up one of the doctors and said to them, I could charge you for this information. It would be really bad if I let other people have the information and the newspaper and television know that it was that you had disposed of it and I found it. I was brought in to negotiate with this person. After contacting an attorney to make sure I had the appropriate laws in mind, I called him up and had a nice long talk with him about the meaning of the word extortion. When I did not get a proper response from him, I went to his supervisor and to the recycling center. Within a very short period of time, we had the information back and I was able to properly dispose of the hard drive and everything on it. Now imagine if your company was approached in this manner. What would you do? Would you pay the fee of several $1,000s that he was asking? What would it be worth to you if that information got out? Would your insurance cover it, or would you be out of business? I guess so the moral of this story is properly remove your private data from any device that is going to be disposed of. The last thing that I want to talk about today is called green IT. You know how when you go to the beach and tell your kids, let's pick up after ourselves? You might even call it a zero impact on the environment. When you leave the beach, it's exactly as you arrived. Well, the same thing can be done for your information technology. There's a certain amount of pollution and environmental impact with building the computer, running the computer, and from that I mean the electricity, and its disposal. Well, we've talked about the disposal, but there are things that you can do to offset the other components. The most common example of this is large companies like Google and Apple build solar farms that offset all the electricity from their locations. I'm not advocating that you do that. What I'm doing is saying that you can do the equivalent with things like TerraPass. This is a company that will invest in solar panels, wind turbines, planting trees, and many other things to the amount that you give to offset the environmental impact of whatever you choose, in this case, your technology. These things are not going to get you accolades in the community or things like that. I mean, you can do things like put them on your website. You can advertise them in brochures and other materials. But in the end, it's just something that will make you feel good in your heart and help your children. As a responsible managed service provider, every year we donate money equivalent to cover the IT energy expenditure of all of our customers. It's not something we have to do, but to be honest, it's the legacy I want to leave. I encourage you to do the same. Here's the information about local recycling and electronic waste convenience centers for the counties in our area. You can take a look at it. Of course, this webinar will be on demand and stream live, so you can gather the information at that point by going to our website. And you can also definitely copy it down right now. I'm going to leave you today with this quote. There is no such thing as a way. When we throw anything away, it has to go somewhere. Thank you very much for listening. Have a really great day, and happy and safe computing.